I just got my second dream bag following the Chanel Classic Medium Flap, and today I am going to do a reveal for you all. This is the next bag that I really wanted and was definitely next on my wish list after I got my Chanel Medium Classic Flap. So I'm so excited to reveal this to you all. But before anything else, if you're new here, welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. I'm trying to reach 3,000 subscribers this year and we are already so near, guys. So if these are the types of videos that you like watching, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. And if you want to connect with me on my socials, you can follow me on TikTok. It's at Trisha Camila. So, you already know, judging by the dust bag of this, on what this bag might be. So it's definitely a classic. A story time before I reveal the bag. After I got my Chanel Medium Classic Flap in the gold hardware caviar leather, I got that vintage. That was really my main and number one dream bag. It was just the classic. I got that, I think, around in 2016, and that definitely scratched so many itches, and until now I still love that bag. That Chanel Medium Flap will always be my number one dream bag, and I've always been grateful that I was able to get it early on in life. But following that, this, I would say, is the next really big dream bag that I really wanted. So I'm not really into Hermes. After I was able to get that Chanel Flap, I was never really the type to upgrade and go to like Hermes levels. It hasn't been my style. It may eventually be, but for the longest time, I've always just really loved Chanel. So after I was able to get the medium flap, the next one on my list was still a Chanel, and it was this bag. And I waited so long to be able to find this in this combination and in this condition and in the price that I was willing to pay. Actually, I did pay quite above my budget for normal pre-loved items, but I would say that this is still a good price even though I paid a little more because, of course, the prices of Chanel have gone up since, and so it was a little bit more expensive than my usual, but for this style, it was already a great deal, so I just had to get it. So I got this in Lux In as well, very early on in the year, just like my Lady Dior. But again, this is really a big, special bag, and it's a really big purchase, so I knew that it had to commemorate something. So I am naming this bag my 32nd birthday gift to myself, because yeah, it's just a really big thing, and it's just something I really wanted for the longest time. So I'm probably releasing this on my birthday, and I will name her as my birthday bag. So enough with the chit chat, and are you guys ready to see what it is? So it is in the classic dust bag. It is already in the newer dust bag, so it is a higher series than the vintage and older ones. And so for the reveal, it is yes, it's a classic quilted bag. And it is the Chanel Jumbo Flap with a silver hardware. And oh my gosh, guys, look at this beauty. It is just in amazing condition. And when I saw this, I just knew that it was for me. It really called out my name. This was actually posted by Lux In for some time, but it was in a higher price. And then they did those lives where they really discounted the price. And once they did that and the price was heavily discounted, I just knew I had to get it. This is in caviar leather, and it is in the 23 series. As you can see over here, it came with the dust bag, the authenticity card, the care booklet, which actually hasn't been opened yet, and I didn't even bother opening it anymore. It also came with some of the packaging, but this is just basically just the ribbon and the camellia left. And most importantly, it came with a ZICO certification. So ZICO authentication has always been my number one trusted for Chanel. And all the previous Chanel bags that I have bought, I have personally authenticated with ZICO herself. But this specific bag came with authenticity card already, so I actually didn't have to pay for authentication anymore. However, because this was printed and there was no like online link to the certificate, I actually emailed ZICO if this was an authentic certificate, and she emailed back that it is, and she also sent me a copy of the original certificate. So I have it for my own personal record. Especially with Chanel, these are very expensive purchases, so I always like to make sure that what I am buying is real. So thankfully, this specific bag has been verified by Zico, and I'm just so happy because I got it at an amazing deal. I don't think I need to talk much about this bag anymore because it's your typical Chanel classic flap except in the jumbo size. This is just what the interior looks like. It has the usual burgundy interior with the pockets inside and of course the zip flap over there, and that's basically it. This came in really amazing condition, like almost new. Even my husband, when I brought this bag home, he was like, that looks really good for a pre-loved bag. It does not look pre-loved at all. Honestly, I got a hell of an amazing deal on this one because really no signs of usage. This is a 23 series Chanel, so it means it was made in around 2016, 2017. So this around like 8 years old, and look at this. It is in freaking amazing condition, really rarely looks used. So that really just shows the quality of Chanel. Actually, a lot of people have been saying that the newer ones are actually of less quality, but I think they still wear fairly well. But yeah, I think it's also by the way you handle your bag. So if you're careful with your bag, then it's not really gonna wear and tear as much. And this bag is total proof of it. I have to tell you guys that when I buy pre-love, if I'm able to get the bag in a cheaper price than usual, it's usually because there are some defects or wear and tear, and I'm okay with that. So that's why some bags are priced lower usually because of those things. Like they're not in perfect new condition, but this one, I was definitely able to get a steal on this because absolutely no defects, no issues, and barely even any wear and tear. The corners of the bag are, yeah, perfect, honestly. The straps, the back, there is nothing, absolutely nothing to say about this. And even the leather, as you can see, it's still very shiny. All the quilts are still so puffy and very full, no flattening of any quilts whatsoever. So yeah, great condition for this bag. Now for the story time on why this was my next most wanted bag after the medium flap. So I initially fell in love with the Chanel classic flap because of Lauren Conrad from The Hills. When I was in high school, she was like my #1 idol, like with regard to fashion and everything. The Hills was like a really popular show back in my day. And with regard to like celebrities that I looked up to, she was definitely like my #1. And like with regard to style, I always tried to emulate more of her looks. It was very classic. And I really discovered the brand Chanel through her. Because in that show, she wore a lot of Chanel. So she actually had the Chanel medallion, which is like the top handle bag. And that was my first ever Chanel bag and the only Chanel bag that was purchased from the boutique. That bag was purchased for me by my dad when I was 18 when we were in Hong Kong, and that was the last time I was ever able to get a Chanel from the store. Everything else has been pre-loved and with my own money. But even when I got the Chanel medallion, it was always the classic flap that I wanted. So in the show, Lauren Conrad always carried a Chanel jumbo flap in caviar leather, but in gold hardware. I don't think she ever carried a medium flap, but it was always the jumbo in gold hardware that she would wear everywhere, like casually to events. So to me, it seemed like an all-around bag. It was very multifunctional. You can use it for every day and even for parties. So whenever I looked at the Chanel flap, I always associated it with Lauren Conrad. That's why that's always been my dream bag. So this size was the size that she would always carry around. Like when you look at paparazzi pictures of Lauren Conrad, this is a bag that she has on. I know she also had like a mini on the show, but she carried that like later on in the seasons and not as much as the flap bag. So this flap bag, like she carried this size, the jumbo, in a lot of scenes. It was actually the single flap because they didn't have the double flap yet at that time. So she really beat that bag up to death. So I wanted it because it was so iconic. However, for my needs when I was in like high school to college, I realized that I liked flap bags that were of a smaller size. It was through buying cheaper alternatives where I realized that the smaller size, the medium large, would be a much better fit for me. Like, you know, those alternatives from Topshop before Forever 21. The medium large size was kind of something I gravitated more towards versus the jumbo. So that's why when I was finally able to, I got my dream bag, which was the Chanel medium large flap in the gold hardware, caviar leather. And I was so happy when I got that. And over the years, I've added more Chanels to my collection. I've had a mini flap in lambskin once. I already sold that. I had the wallet and chain, but those didn't work out for me. I'll link those videos up above. And I've also bought and sold a few classic flaps. But the Chanel bags that have been retained in my collection are the medium classic flap, the reissue in the size 226. I do have a jumbo seasonal one in lambskin leather and in chevron. And I do have the boy bag, which has been for sale but hasn't sold because the boy bag, I realized, doesn't really work for me. So I always wanted this size because I felt like this would complete my Chanel collection because I already have the mediums. And this is actually supposed to replace the seasonal flap that I got because that one is also in silver hardware and it's in the medium size. I got that initially because I wanted the jumbo flap, but I was able to find that at a cheap price before. So I bought that and it really worked for me. That size really worked for me. So when I found this, I knew that this would just really fit into my wardrobe and it would definitely be a bag closet staple. So I do also intend to sell on that seasonal flap already because it is going to be redundant having this and that in my collection. So that's about it. I'm so happy with this bag. I hope you enjoyed my story time on how I came to really wanting this specific bag. From my story, I'm pretty sure you can tell that this was really an obsession that I wanted, and so this is definitely going to be a staple in my wardrobe. And like the Chanel medium large flap, I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon. This is probably going to be in my collection forever. That Chanel medium large I've had since 2016 and it was vintage then, and it's been with me for around like 5 years already and it's still in great condition. So I just love creating memories with my bags, and for sure I will have that same memory with this bag as well. So that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button down below. I'm trying to reach 2,000 subscribers this year and we are already so near, guys. So if you haven't, I would really appreciate it if you could. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!